I first got started in Bitcoin and got obsessed and fell in love and was getting ready to go buy some. And should I not? Is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? I was weighing, $5,000 I had against, could I buy gold? Could I buy silver? What should I do with it? I just kept watching Bitcoin go from 80 cents, 84 cents, 90 cents. So I went and fixed this broken tile landing I had when you walk into your house, made it pretty and spent all the money on it. The worst part is it only lasted like a year and a half and it cracked again. I was like, it was so bad.
Now, if you had put 5,000 into Bitcoin at 84 cents a pop, you would get 5,952 Bitcoin, which at today's exchange rates of almost $113,000 is $672,380,952.
Everybody today is like, I wish I would have found it whenever, right? That is going to be true in 2 years. That's going to be true in 2 months. That's going to be true in the future, right? Never sell your Bitcoin. Don't go put it on exchange. Just save. For new people coming in, you don't have to pay those prices. You can just learn from listening to people like myself who tinkered around and found out it's safer today than it ever has been. It's way more of a better investment today than it ever was before. How amazing would it be if you only had to just keep working at something you love doing for society? Bitcoin is the vessel that keeps that, like a battery, so that you can use it later, right? And that's what money really should do, is store value for the future.
Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast, where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you are brand new to Bitcoin, what do we want to do, Anna Bevan? We want to chat about sats with you. We just want to freaking chat. Talk to us.
Just a chat.
Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. For real, you can literally sign up. I'm your host, Stuart.
And I'm your co-host, Anna Bevan.
And today in the studio, we have got number 123, Shawn. 123.
To get to 123.
I like that. That's a nice number for Shawn. 123.
Yep.
He is the CEO of Salt. His message for all of you pre-coiners is that you need to, number one, recognize that you are never too late to Bitcoin. Number two, recognize that you don't need that much to start stacking your first sats. And number three, recognize that once you have some sats, you need to hang on to those Satoshis, okay? And he's going to get us started by telling us the story of his $672 million tile floor. Shawn, take it away, my brother.
What's up, everybody? It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. I love the podcast ideas and everything you guys are doing differently. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you. So, I first got started in Bitcoin and got obsessed and fell in love and was getting ready to go buy some and kept debating in my mind, thinking about like an investment idea. Should I or should I not? Is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? And I was weighing, $5,000 I had against, could I buy gold? Could I buy silver? What should I do with it? At the time I was planning on I was engaged and planning a wedding. And I was like, this feels kind of irresponsible. My girlfriend, my fiance is going to think I'm freaking crazy if I'm even talking about buying some digital coin. It's sketchy, whatever. And I just kept feeling like I really wanted to. And I got really close to buying this off a guy named Morpheus on the internet, of course, Morpheus. And I was excited about it all. And, then kind of had that moment where I'm like, I'm being irresponsible. I got to do something more responsible. So I went and fixed this broken tile landing I had when you walk into your house, and made it pretty and spent all the money on it. Felt pretty good for a while until, I just kept watching Bitcoin go from 80 cents, 84 cents, 90 cents. It's going to $1, just kept going on, and now for years, I finally forgotten about it until you made me remember, but it was a painful lesson that was, eventually I think inevitable that everybody goes through that because you're going to make some mistake, but you're never too late. I still felt that exact same way in $100 and 200 and 1,000. And now today, that's still a lesson I think is totally true. But yeah, it was a painful one for quite some time.
Well, let's break that down and walk through that for our pre-coiners here. What year was this?
That was 2011.
2011.
Wow.
Now, if you guys didn't catch that, he said at the time Bitcoin was 80 to 87 cents per coin. Okay.
That's the bid. That was the bid. Yeah. For a money pack.
Can we have a moment of silence for Bitcoin? Let's have a moment of silence for Bitcoin at 80 to 87 cents. You guys can choose to use this moment of silence for anything that you want for. Let's just have a moment of silence here. Oh, I really wish I found Bitcoin at 87 cents.
But I think everybody feels this way, right? Like everybody today is like, I wish I would have found it whenever, right? That is going to be true in 2 years. That's going to be true in 2 months. That's going to be true in the future, right? So the worst thing you could do is let that linger and feel like I'm too late, because that's what we all go through. I swear, I don't know one person who didn't feel that way. I don't know anybody that's like, I got in early. I got in before everybody. There are some people that did well, but the odds of that are hard. It's hard to hold on to. You're going to make some mistakes. It's never too late.
I was going to say, I find that to be really encouraging, because I'm going to classify myself as a class of 2025.
Yeah.
Brand new. Thank you. And it's encouraging to hear that, like, years from now, people are going to feel like they were behind, and
Yes.
I'm going to feel like a genius. Maybe not that far, but that's just encouraging. Like, listening to other people who have made mistakes, who have doubted it, but more than the person who found Bitcoin or discovered Bitcoin at or bought at 84 cents. I want to be the person that thought that was going to be around for a while. Like, just like the way of thinking and being that sort of cutting edge,
right,
in the way you're approaching your investments, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have had what it took to see Bitcoin that early and have that level of conviction. Like, I'm class of 2024. So by the time I rediscovered Bitcoin during the Bitcoin ETF approval in January 2024, it was around $60,000 per coin. Michael Saylor was going ape. The Wall Street organizations were starting to adopt it. And I was able to say to myself, okay, if someone like BlackRock or Fidelity that has billions or trillions of money that they're managing is starting to get into this, there's no way the government will shut this thing down. Because at the time, I thought that was something I didn't know enough about Bitcoin to know you can't, no government can shut it down. So, but I was like, there's no way. Because when those big guys get involved, they're like, listen, Mr. President, you need to undo what you just did, because we have a bunch of money and you're going to do what we say. But I remember too, like, I found it at basically 60,000. And my first thought was, man, if I had gotten in when I first heard about it in 2017, when it was at like 3,000, this would be so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, Shawn at 87 cents was thinking, I might be too late to this. And what's crazy is in the year 2138, when I'm 153 years old and I'm like, welcome to Sat Chat, and there's only one new episode every 18 months because of our supply schedule. Somebody's going to come on and tell their Bitcoin story and say, hey, man, I first discovered Bitcoin when it was $112,000. And everybody listening to it is going to be like, oh, my God, let's have a moment of silence for when Bitcoin was $112,000.
That's true. I mean, and to be honest, like, I think a lot of people, like, it wasn't like I was claiming to be savvy as an investor or whatever. It was almost more like an ideology. It was like, this is such a beautiful, cool idea that it probably won't make it, but if it could, it should, and it needs all the support it can get. And I'd love to just see if there's other people in the world that I can meet in real life and talk about this, So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, this thing's going to go to $100,000, $1 million a coin, right? Although the implications are there because it's a fixed supply and it's totally provably scarce once you learn how it works. I think a lot of people probably weren't really investing per se. They were more supporting an idea. And that's a good way to look at it too, because if you're not completely tied into what's this worth today and what's it going to be worth tomorrow, you might make a more clear decision on if you think that it would be good for you to have a fixed supply asset of something that's scarce that other people believe in, that might be the best savings technology ever invented. That just in order to support it and learn about it, right? I think that's also good advice too, because it's another way of kind of removing this bias towards feeling like you're too late, because it is a real challenge to overcome that. People constantly feel like they're paralyzed because it's like, oh, I can't do that. I'll have to just go gamble in Vegas instead, or I'll have to just go throw my money into some fiat, some whatever, or I have to buy some new coin, right? That it's going to have to be a new one because they're associating new with early, even though that's totally not how the economics work, right? In fact, it's safer today than it ever has been. It's way more of a better investment today than it ever was before.
Okay. So let's hit that real quick. Okay, because what I want to explore with you is if early Bitcoiners were investing in an idea, then let's unpack what that idea is. But before we do, just again, because I got to spell this out for my listeners, if you were looking at Bitcoin for 87 cents a pop, and you had $5,000 to your name, should I buy some gold? Should I buy some silver? Nah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to be bringing my lady friend into my life. I got to have a nicer looking tile landing. I'm going to put the $5,000 into the tile. Now, if you had put 5,000 into Bitcoin at 84 cents a pop, you would get 5,952 Bitcoin, which at today's exchange rates of almost $113,000 is $672,380,952. And you said that the tile floor like cracked after a year and a half.
So depressing. It was like the first thing about real estate investing is just remember it's just always going to cost more and take longer and break, right? Like it's not forever. You better love it. You better love it. Just build the best possible stuff you can because it's not going to last and you got to enjoy it and you can at least make it worth it. But like after that lesson, it went right from that into another mistake I think many people should avoid, which is, hey, I've got this, so I bought back some coins around $100 in that range. And what did I do? I got greedy and started trying to trade on Mt. Gox. Well, everybody knows how Mt. Gox ended. If you don't, it was an exchange that was the first one that got hacked and went bananas and had this crazy story and went under. And a lot of people got some money out of it eventually, but mine had gotten stolen like right before. So I couldn't even get the claims to that, So I was trading, making all this money, thinking I'm smart. Bad idea. Never sell your Bitcoin. Don't go put it on exchange. You're not going to become a trader that's an expert unless you're going to do that full time, 24/7 all the time and beat all the rest of the smartest people that are doing it with computers. Just save, right? So that's another mistake people make. So even if I had bought all that, it's very possible I would have went and traded it and messed up, right? I think a lot of people did that too. So there's many lessons in Bitcoin.
So what you're saying is that part of your story is that you were trading on Mt. Gox. Before Mt. Gox got hacked, you got hacked.
My Mt. Gox account got hacked like right in the run up when it went from $100 to 1,200, So I was like midstream in that, and then it just disappeared to an IP address like around Chicago, and there's no law enforcement that's going to help you go track down Bitcoin at this point in time. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Yes, and so that Bitcoin is gone. It's just gone for you.
Yep.
Now,
that's gone.
How much was on the exchange that you lost?
I don't even remember the total number of coins, but it wasn't life-changing amounts. It had been some number of hundreds of dollars and then traded it up and it did pretty well, right? Like I was trading up, I probably tripled it in a short amount of time. And then it was running up and then it disappeared. So, I mean, there's like endless stories like this, I think, for anybody in Bitcoin that for new people coming in, you don't have to pay those prices. You can just learn from listening to people like myself who tinkered around and, found out on all those little things early. You don't have to do that. You don't have to buy the other new coin. You don't have to like send your money to the guy that's going to tell you it's going to double. That's a scam. You don't have to go trade. You don't have to do these things. You just buy and hold and save and forget about it, and your life gets better in the future.
That's what I like. I like the very little activity with the maximum amount of reward.
The simple way. It's weird, right? Because I think all of us think life has to be hard. Like it must be hard to make a lot of money. But when all you have to do is save, it actually isn't that hard. You just have to work and do something you love and save.
That's such a good point, by the way, because we have grown up in a world of unsound money. And so, in order to protect your hard work, you have to go through all sorts of complex activities. You know, you can't just save because your savings are buying you less and less over time. So you need to find somewhere to store your savings. Is it going to be in a house? Well, now you're kind of like a part-time landlord. Is it going to be in Wall Street? Okay, now you're a Wall Street bro. Is it going to be in gold or diamonds, or are you going to go even further into like trading commodity futures? Like, dude, I'm bullish on wheat and coffee. No, 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 no. If we have sound money, then all you got to do is work and save.
Yeah.
It's so beautifully simple.
Yeah.
For our satillionaires in the audience who still don't have their first 1 million sats, they're satillionaires because they belong to our show,
Right.
not because they yet have 1 million satoshis.
But they'll all get there.
They're going to get, eventually not everyone can get to 1 million sats, but
early on, if they're going now,
hey, do it now. Do it now. You're talking about how you don't need a lot to get started. So how would you recommend to our pre-coiners that they get started? What would be your advice?
The hardest part is just getting over the objective in your mind of should I or should I not. And as soon as you do, then you learn, because now you have it in your possession. You can decide to put it on a wallet offline. You can put it at a company. You can do whatever you want, right? It's just that you'll have the benefit of hearing from people who have made mistakes to tell you what not to do, which should help narrow the path down on what makes it easy. But thinking and looking back on things, like how amazing would it be if you only had to just keep working at something you love doing for society, create value, and know that every night you go to bed, not only is your wealth preserved and saved in this global battery, but it's getting more valuable. So you have to work a little less the next day. Like, that's a wonderful feeling.
That is so great. I love that feeling.
Now, did you hear him call Bitcoin a global battery?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Okay, so you work so that you can produce the things you need to live, right? We have found that society is better off if you can use an intermediary store of that value versus bartering, because bartering is a little clunky. So we create money, this invention. Yet, if you take that even further, you're really just preserving and storing what you worked for. Now, would you like to work all day long with your body being, the limited resource of time that you have spent or expended, invested into something that when you wake up in the morning is going to be missing, part of it's gone, or something that just has a little extra there that you don't know where it came from, right? It's that energy that you're converting your work into, so we can all standardize between our different forms of work. So whatever you do to produce value, it gets standardized into, let's just call it energy. Bitcoin is the vessel that keeps that like a battery so that you can use it later, right? And that's what money really should do, is store value for the future. What does a battery do? It stores value to use later, right? It's just that this battery kind of charges up the more other people work too, which is a huge feature. So you have an incentive. You've got an incentive. I have an incentive. Anytime I'm working, you can sleep well knowing that I'm making your battery more optimized and more efficient. You're gonna wake up with a few extra volts in there, right? And the same thing, I'm gonna feel good that you're out there working, spreading the word, because I go to bed knowing you're making the battery worth more too.
Okay.
I really like that
and
visual.
That aligns incentives. That puts us all on an even playing field. We're no longer divided.
As you were sharing that, Shawn, I got this vision of everyone pouring their effort into a single big thing, but we're able to keep track of how much of that single big thing is yours that you can use to exchange with people around the world when you're ready. Like, it's so wild to think about storing up in fiat currency and having it kind of be less in the morning. Maybe a raccoon has come by and nibbled on that sucker a little bit while you were asleep, versus, a futuristic store of value that is fair. It's glorious. It's miraculous. It's unbelievable that we have a breakthrough as a human race in terms of how we account for how much value you've put into the world for everyone else to benefit from.
It's really fascinating to think about this compound effect of momentum, right? So like if we were all on pedal bikes, bicycles, that as you're pedaling, they generate some energy. There's a lot of these scenarios like the little Hot Wheels you'd have where you pull them back and you get all wound up and then it takes off. It's storing up energy. I think that is exactly what it is that we're all working to create this momentum towards value creation of storing the energy to be more, I would say, allocated better, right? Because it's just more efficient. It's not wasteful. It incentivizes preservation and conservative. Even though a lot of people have this notion, if you've heard, for anybody new, that this is really energy intensive and wasting the energy, I don't believe any of that is true when you measure it up against anything that you're comparing to apples to apple. It's actually extremely energy efficient and encourages that you become more in tuned with how to be more efficient, right? Because there's an incentive for you to just save more, be closer to where you're going to store the battery and the value, work smarter. But some notion of something that the more we're all spending, the compound effect is actually having an effect for everybody versus just yourself. So it might seem very selfish, like, oh, you're just a bunch of hoarders, you're just a bunch of selfless capitalists or something. I've heard everything under the sun to kind of demonize what Bitcoin is, but it almost always is the opposite. It's almost always truly just a better form of whatever it's being critiqued by. But I like that visualization you've got.
Mm-hmm.
So I am ready to get some Bitcoin, okay? Because I'm just so pumped up by what this really is. Do you, would you recommend that I set aside $50 a month or $50 a week?
Right? Like it's not investment advice, but everybody knows when they're wasting money, right? I personally know if I'm like, I want to buy that. And I'm like, I know really I don't want to buy that, but I think I'm just kind of feeling the impulse. And I'll get the big giant vanilla grande coffee, even though I've had 3 coffees already today, right? There's endless analogies of, yeah, I feel a little empty, so I'll go out and have a few beers. Like, did you need the 5th and the 6th one? Probably not. And so like, I think you can find a lot of extra cash laying around that you are wasting to feel good about life, making it harder for yourself in the future to have to regain it back. It's very easy to just take $5 here and there, $10 here and there and say, do I really want to watch another show on Netflix, but I'm binged out? Do I really want the extra beer? Do I really want the whatever, set of extra shoes, right? There's always excess, always. Now, I think it's really hard for me anyway to like think long-term, put it in a month and be like, the end of the month, I'll do my bills and I'll put some money aside. Like, it doesn't really work for me. To me, it's just like you buy Bitcoin and the money going in is easier than the money going out. It's becomes easier to buy than it is to go sell.
Yeah.
If you start selling, you're becoming a trader. Don't do that. That's a career choice. You don't need to do that. Most people shouldn't do that. And it's not like a weekend thing, no matter what any influencer tells you. There's no proof to support that. What there is proof to support is that if you buy something you exchange your value and you store it in Bitcoin versus cash, if you really need it, it's liquid. You can get it back. There's really not much risk. That in all reality, if it was the extra $5 for a Starbucks anyway, you were going to spend it anyway. So just put it in something. Next thing you know, you'll see that it starts growing a lot faster than anything else, which gives you the tailwind. You start to feel some of the benefit of your effort. You're going to start thinking a little bit differently about what you do. So yeah, I think systematically the dollar cost averaging and just not overthinking it, because you're not going to time the market. That's another, I think, problem. Nobody knows the future. If we did, those people would already be rich. And even the people who are really good at predicting the future can't do it all the time. And even if you could, you're not going to benefit that much more than if you just average in whenever you can. So it's that impulse buy to buy Bitcoin instead of a coffee, a beer, whatever else is your vice.
So what I'm hearing from you, Shawn, is the same thing that I heard from number 27, Adam, and from number 83, Aladdin, these storied Bitcoiners who came before you, which is, it's what we have come to call the spare change approach. We've had some people come on and say, look, man, just let your fiat build up until there's a dip and then buy the dip. That's kind of like the dry powder strategy.
Sure.
We've got folks that come on and say, look, man, set it and forget it. Ron Popeil, just dollar cost average, $50 a week or $50 a month, and it'll all work out over time like blockchain Wayne. But then we do have we do have the odd Bitcoiner come on and say, look, man, spare change it. Number 27, Adam, threw away a laptop with 400 Bitcoin on it, which means he lost $40 million in today's terms. And he said, guess what? I don't even care because I've been buying Bitcoin with my spare change since the first year. And I am as happy as a clam when he does something, Shawn, where if he's going to spend but doesn't, he quote unquote spends it anyway, but he spends it on Bitcoin. So he told the story.
That's the strategy I think worked the best for me out of all the things I've tried. That right there is what I was alluding to, right? So it's similar to a dollar cost averaging, just maybe not on a programmatic set it and forget it, which now you can do. So that's probably even better, arguably. But that mentality of I didn't spend a little cash. I have a few bucks in here extra. I'm just going to move it over from cash over into Bitcoin for now, right? That's an easy move and it works really well. It worked for me anyway. That was something that was easy to mentally think about. Doesn't take much time. You just know, I've got a few extra bucks, I'll throw it over there. You find out you probably didn't really need it anyway. So yeah, I definitely agree. That's a good way to say it. The spare change, the dollar cost averaging or the spare change. Buy the dip if you've got the ability to kind of sit there and wait. But I think that a lot of times you're not going to know what the dip is and you're going to miss out because it runs away from you. The dip is infinitely upside down. So don't try to buy the dip.
So let's imagine now that our pre-coiner has realized that everyone feels like they're too late to Bitcoin. So no one is too late to Bitcoin. And they've also realized that all they need to do is download an app that will allow them to very easily throw in $5 here, $10 here. You were going to go have drinks tonight with your buddies, but it snowed. You know that you were going to spend about $30 on booze. So just throw $30 into Bitcoin. Over time, they're stacking enough Satoshis for it to be a meaningful amount for them. Now, what we've learned from you is that your recommendation would be do not sell those Satoshis. Tell us more about how you feel in that area.
Okay, yeah. So you made me think of one more thing just for newbies to come along that I often forget about. But there are a lot of great cards these days where you can just spend the same credit card transaction on whatever it was you had to spend on anyway. Maybe you're just living paycheck to paycheck and you're making your way every day. There's some really good products now where for the exact same thing you would get just a couple kickback points on your credit card for, you get Satoshis in Bitcoin. So you could literally just go about your business spending from here on out for the rest of your life and end up accumulating a ton of wealth. Like I did the math one time in front, just to make an example. I said, like, look, whatever you spend, if you were just earning on that from collecting these fees, right, you're going to end up at a point where your purchases paid for themselves, over the course of your life, without a doubt, probably way faster than you think. Right. And so that's another little tidbit for people that are new, like check out some of these apps. Fold just went public. They're really good. There's a few others, but I can at least vouch for the founder there is awesome. And that product is awesome. And that doesn't require you have any extra money at all. Right. So then jumping to okay, so now let's say that you have some. Yes. I mean, this is basically what led me to feel like the best use of my time was to help Bitcoiners with a service, that people needed at the time. You couldn't do this anywhere. We were the first kind of company to come out and offer the ability to just borrow against your cash, and the company solved for secured automated lending technology. But I think a better way to think about it is the historical context of salt was a commodity that you had to have to live and survive, that everybody kind of knew was globally ubiquitous. It was divisible. It was used for salaries. It was what you put on your meat to preserve wealth. It was very much kind of essential to living and preserving wealth. So salt of the earth is something that it's easy to remember. And it was just the simple idea of, wouldn't it be cool if we crazy Bitcoiners could show the rest of the bankers and people fiat that we can repay them with this excellent collateral because we're good for it. So we don't have to sell it. We can program contracts around it and build smart contracts and all these ideas that were really exciting to think about. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years. But the simple idea is, okay, so you start earning Bitcoin or you start saving Bitcoin, however you make that change, right? That spare change. Pretty soon, eventually, you're going to have more money than you thought you were going to have. That's how it works. And so you're then going to be tempted to go sell. We just produce and offer up another service for people who are in fiat and need more fiat and or what have dollars and want more dollars, that are willing to look at a track record and say 100% repayment rate, 0 defaults ever, no lenders ever not been paid back. Why? Because Bitcoin is the best collateral you could ever have. And so they'll give you the cash to then go spend just like you would on a loan or a credit card. And that gives you the ability to do what the wealthy do. Okay. The wealthy take assets and they leverage those assets. So they have debt, but it's good debt because it's less than what they have in assets, and they can write it off as an expense. They don't have to pay the gains on the capital gains for taxes. So it's very strategic if you can start to have time on your side and think about how to time your events rather than feeling like you always have to just sell off whatever you've got. That will make the difference on if you just take 2 side-by-side comparisons. One person, well, 3, let's do 3. One who never buys any Bitcoin, another who buys Bitcoin but then has to sell it every so often, and then one who buys Bitcoin and doesn't sell it and borrows against it eventually. You get this huge advantage, which is called the Bitcoin advantage. It's like this wedge of value because time is valuable. And the more you can extend that out, the more you have people working for you in the Bitcoin battery, right? Everybody's kind of building that value. And so that there's options now where you literally can live off of Bitcoin forever that you couldn't have originally. And that's kind of like phase 2, I would suppose. After you've started to realize your wealth is stacking up, you're going to be tempted to go spend it, right? And we just want to be there to help people not have to do that.
Okay, so hang on. SALT stands for Secure Automated Lending Technology.
Yep.
Number one, that's freaking sweet.
I also love the double meaning with the salt as a preservation over time.
Yeah, because we've covered this on the show with number 56, Marissa. The Roman soldiers were paid in salt. Mm-hmm. And the idea of being worth your salt comes from the fact that salt was money. The sal in salary is salt. And of course, and interestingly enough, too, your idea of salting your beef, okay, it's a form of wealth preservation if you feel like calories and being able to not die is a form of wealth, which I would argue it is.
Yes.
So I love the tie-in between the old world of salt and its real world uses and its function as money, and then the acronym of Secure Automated Lending Technology, which sounds like the engine on the back of an intergalactic starship to me.
It's prioritizing save, right? Saving securely in lending technology, and flipping it on its head. So the meaning of debt is a bad word in our life, yet our money is created out of debt. And so that's messed up because you can't actually pay back all the debt. People talk about paying all the debt off and whatever, and that's like ridiculous because like it was created out of debt, so you can't pay it off. It's not possible if you do the math. Yet leveraging debt is why the ultra wealthy are wealthy. And so like there's something to that. And I think it's changing back to what credit is. Credit would be, you've got an axe, I need to go chop some wood. I say, hey, can I borrow it? You say, but it's worth a lot of money. I don't want you to break it. I say, what if I pay you some interest? I'll give you extra firewood out of it. And you go, hey, that's worth it. My axe has just made me some firewood without me working. That's leveraging your asset right now. That's a good thing. And I think that just getting people back to thinking in terms of saving before you spend and having leverage instead of debt is extremely important and powerful, because most of us are just kind of feeling in the back of our mind that we just live on this debt, escalator that we're always running against. And it's just not a good feeling, right? And there's a better way. But there's two other meanings too, just since we're talking about the hidden meaning. So the delta represents change,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also a fulcrum. So if you put a leverage on top of that, that's how Archimedes would lever the world, with a long fulcrum.
Dude.
What? That is
Sh-
so thoughtful. The intentionality of this, like, I love the inception of meaning.
Shawn's over here with like 6D, 6-dimensional. He's packing it in. So let me ask you this, okay? I do not think that our average pre-coiner is going to have several Bitcoin laying around ready to go, to kind of hit this buy, borrow, die strategy that the ultra rich do, right?
Mhm,
And I've
mhm.
lived a long time being like, dude, what? This is not cool that these ultra rich guys get to basically do this like crazy thing that they do. And it's only recently that I've learned that Bitcoin allows each of us to totally freaking do
Yes.
this. But so let's do this. Let's imagine I am hopping on a flight tomorrow to Iceland. And the reason why we can imagine that is because I'm literally going to be doing that. All right.
It's a real scenario.
It's my 40th birthday. I am an Old Norse man. I'm going to go to Iceland. I'm going to hike Helgafell, the holy mountain for Thor, god of thunder. I'm going to test my strength against the legendary lifting stones. I'm going to attempt to eat fermented shark without gagging. You name it. Okay?
There's going to be a
You're gonna
lot
do
in
all the
it.
things.
Okay. Now, let's imagine I have 10 million sats to my name. And today that's 11,282 bucks. All right. I could give my 10 million sats to you and your infinitely meaningful company name.
Mhm.
And at 70%, you would say, all right, well, here's 7,897 bucks, which by the way, is about the cost of my trip to Iceland. It's about an $8,000 shebang. Now,
wow.
now the 10 million sats that I've set aside, I'm trying to give that to the 9th Arthur Pelto. All right. I'm the 4th Arthur Pelto in an unbroken line of 5 Arthur Peltos. So my son is the 5th. I'm trying to go 6, 7, 8, 9th Arthur Pelto. I'm not looking. I'm operating my monthly budget in a way where the 10 million sats I've stacked up is not something that I need to power my lifestyle. But instead of selling, 7 to 8 million sats for Iceland, or even spending $7,000 to $8,000, I could give you the 10 million sats.
Mhm.
I could extract an entire trip to Iceland out of that sucker. And then what happens, Shawn? Because let's imagine next year, my 10 million sats doubles in value, and now it's worth 22,000 some odd dollars. Can I just leave that sucker with you and kind of say, look, man, fold the interest I owe you into that sucker, and almost like a home equity line of credit, but it's like, how does it all work?
Yeah, I mean, if you know what a home equity line of credit is, that reference is a great way to describe it, because you've got a home, let's say, worth the total value of what you described that you've saved. You don't want to sell your home. Maybe it's not even practical to sell your home, but you want to go take this 40-year-old banger and you want to tap into some cash you've saved up, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin or your house. In this case, you just originate the loan for the cash you need. And then you decide on a monthly basis, do you want to keep paying down on that and hold it, or do you want to pay it off? And then in the scenario you described, where I would agree, most likely at some point it's going to double in value, you get another vacation out of it. Now, if you do the math between, if you had sold that same amount of sats and it doubles, right? Like, you are making it infinitely harder to catch up because you have a smaller unit count in Bitcoin, which is what matters. Switching to the denominator in Bitcoin is the best advice. Because it's so hard to get out of the fiat mind thinking in dollars that it takes some serious practice to start thinking and measuring in Bitcoin. But if you had your same Bitcoin, same amount of sats, and now it's doubled in value versus a reduced amount of sats, which one would you rather have? So you simply have more exposure to the upside the more satoshis you have versus the expense. And so if we have to by law call it an interest rate because that's what everybody's familiar with thinking about when you pay on cash. But if you overlap the interest rate with the appreciation or the CAGRs they would call it for the Bitcoin growth, it is a net positive number and always has been every year over year. And even when you take reduced, extremely conservative numbers, it's going to outpace what you pay in the interest. You have a net benefit or an advantage in that scenario, right? And you can do that over year, and you will see that one thing dramatically accelerates time to your destination. Let's call that retirement or whatever your benchmark is, versus the other, which, exponentially gets further and further out into the distance you have to work. Right. So it's significant and can be proven with math. You don't have to trust me. Right. It's just pretty clearly a math equation. And that would assume that you are going to hold the debt, but you could always just pay it down and have your full value back available, and it's yours. It's yours to do what you want to do with.
Man, it's like a Bitcoin equity line of credit.
I
Dude,
know.
I'm going to go out and get a B-lock. I'm going to get a B-lock right now, dude. Dude, I'm done with HELOCs. I'm going to get some B-locks.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Incredible. So, Shawn, it's clear that there is so much to Bitcoin that we will never fit it all into a single chat about sats. So we do ask each of our guests if they would be willing to come back on in 9 months to give us an update on their Bitcoin baby. Would you be willing to do that for us?
Yeah, so it's a long time to wait, but I'll be looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, let's go.
This exact time, roughly summer of next year, it'll be totally there'll be so much to talk about. So much will have changed.
Yeah, and me and Anna Bevs are going to be ripping on our B-locks.
For sure.
And we'll have an update for you.
Yeah.
So let's recap the conversation with Shawn. He found Bitcoin in 2011. He was a strapping young man with a fiancée and was trying to figure out. And the poor man is smiling because he's like, why do I have to go back through this again? Don't tell this story ever again. I don't want to ever hear it. But my young man had $5,000 to $6,000 of disposable funds. Should I put it into gold? Should I put it into silver? Should I make the tile floor in my foyer a little bit nicer? What if my lady friend sees my current tile floor and decides the marriage is off? Okay. Or should I put it into Bitcoin? Bitcoin was 87 cents. And with $5,000, he would have had almost 6,000 Bitcoin, which today would be $627 million or something.
Yeah.
He decided I'm probably too late if Bitcoin is already at 87 cents. It also might be a little irresponsible of me to yeet 4 figures in when I have a wedding coming up.
And the tile floor.
Homes are trusty. Homes, we understand. Real estate, we got it.
Yeah.
He repairs the tile floor. Bitcoin climbs from 87 cents to $112,000. Meanwhile, a year and a half later, his tile floor cracks. It cracks. Bitcoin does not crack. Bitcoin absolutely goes insane. So we had that moment here on the show, and we had a moment of silence for Bitcoin at 87 cents a pop. And we made sure everyone knows that no matter how you're feeling, you just are not late to Bitcoin. So what should you do? You should get started. Shawn's approach is the spare change strategy. Same as number 27, Adam. Same as number 83, Aladdin. I recommend you, Satillionaires, listen to both of those after Shawn's episode. If that idea of spending on Bitcoin what you would have wasted on something else resonates with you and feels like a sustainable way to grow your stack over time. Once you got your stack and you're proud of it, you can go to SALT, okay? Secure, automated lending technology. That is like Epcot vibes. That's giving Epcot. If I can use the slang that my 12-year-old and my 10-year, that's giving Epcot, okay? And I just want to jump into the Tomorrowland of this company with Shawn and pull out enough equity from my Bitcoin, like a Bitcoin equity line of credit, to go do things in real life without having to let go of my Bitcoin. You just got to be willing to let it stay there until you either pay it back or you just go full Jeffrey Bezos, Elon Musk, and you buy, borrow, die like an absolute Chad, because taking advantage of debt in an inflationary environment is the name of the game if you know what you're doing and you're fearless.
Not
and
financial
you can be,
advice.
And that all those disclaimers are coming here in a second. We're going to disclaim your face off, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to disclaim you so
We're
hard.
just two people really curious about the VLOC.
Yeah, we're going to disclaim you so hard that you're going to get ejected out of your car as you're listening to this. So don't worry, okay? And don't at us either, okay?
No,
don't at us on the social media platforms. Just figure it out for yourself. So, powerful message here from Shawn. Let's take a break for our lead sponsor because I need some calories after absorbing all that information.
All of that information. So Shawn, our founding sponsor is Ithaca Hummus, and it's been around for now 12 years. And the founder is Chris, started out at the Ithaca Farmers Market with a folding table and some ice cream scoops into plastic containers. And it's grown from there to be a massive brand with the best hummus you'll ever have in your whole life.
It's so tasty.
You selected the flavor of lemon dill, which is so good. Since we have it in the studio, we will serve as your taste buds.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Here we go.
Okay, ready?
Cheers. The dill. When I first started tasting this stuff, it like reminded me of fish. You know, like you put like lemon and dill inside like a fish's gut or whatever and bake it.
Yeah.
But now it's all like pickle vibes. Like that first.
Oh, interesting.
It tastes like I'm drinking the dill pickle juice out of the jar because I do that. When the kids are done with the pickles, I'm like, don't throw away the jar. And I'll just go to the fridge every so often. I'll slug on the pickle juice, man. It's delicious.
Ew. That is so gross.
Very good with tequila, too.
Shawn, you drink pickle juice, right?
Used to. I haven't had any pickle juice in a while, though, I'll be honest.
Wow.
Oh,
So we'll get the story of why you abandoned your pickle juice 9 months from now when you come back on the show.
Definitely.
Man, that's yummy. All right, let's make old Shawnee boy his offer here.
Shawnee boy. We are getting very close.
I just feel like if I give you a nickname and you don't immediately reject it, then I've kind of tricked us into being friends faster. Do you know what I mean?
Seems to work.
Shawnee boy agrees with me.
He's in it. Oh my gosh. All right. So on Sat Chats, we believe in value for value. And in exchange for your time, we'd like to give you the choice between $50 in fiat or $50 exchange into Bitcoin of 44,200 Satoshis. What would you like?
Clearly a trick question because there's only one right answer there. That is the Bitcoin Satoshis for sure.
Let's go.
Excellent.
Boom. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Now,
Sorry, President Grant.
if you take those 44,200 Satoshis and deliver them to yourself at Salt, you can get $35 to do what you will with that, okay? Without having to sacrifice your 44,200 Satoshis.
Excellent applied learning.
Okay? Bam.
Yes.
You could go to Chick-fil-A one time without having to sell your Bitcoin.
Wonder what it'll be worth in 9 months.
Yeah. Oh. And we're going to track that when you come back on. We do track that. Now, you bring our show's scoreboard to 118 who have stacked the sats, along with 9 who need.
What? You had people take the cash?
We've had 9. We've had 9.
How many of those have been related to you, Stuart?
My sister and my daughter both took the cash.
We all have to learn somewhere.
It's like, you betrayed me. You are my own blood. And you chose the cash. But you know what? We're the Bitcoin Welcome Center. So some people, they're just going to park their car. They're going to use our clean bathrooms. They're going to get back in the car. They're going to leave. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. We have to operate that way because we are the Welcome Center. Mm-hmm. All right. Shawn, where can our Satillionaires go if they want to engage with you online, if they want to learn more about Salt?
Yeah, so our domain's really easy. Salt, it's www.saltlending.com. If you Google Bitcoin lending at all, we're usually like #1 ranked. It pops up there. I'm always on any social. Can't respond immediately, but would love to chat with anybody that wants to. We kind of pride ourselves on always being there to educate and help build relationships with people. So talking to us is, don't be shy. We know that's just part of the journey. People are going to have questions. People are going to want to talk to people. We'd be happy to start a conversation and get to know anybody that's interested. You should definitely mention you heard us from the pod for sure. Looking forward to meeting new friends.
Let's go.
Love that.
So, Satillionaires, if you enjoyed Shawn's episode today, number 1, 2, 3 on the dial. Mm-hmm. Let's go. The most powerful thing you can do is to subscribe here on YouTube. We want to put 10,000 Satillionaires underneath our Christmas tree. So in exchange for that, and to say thank you, we will select one from among you at random and drop 2 million sats on your head. If you want to support or sponsor the show in other ways, other than literally a quick tap, plus maybe turn on notifications while you're there, it's all in the show notes, along with links to Shawn and to Salt. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. Remember, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only. This is the part where I eject you out of the car with how hard I'm going to disclaim this. And should not be construed as financial advice. Don't construe it.
Do not construe.
I hear you attempting to construe it. No construing is allowed.
Not at all.
Okay? Also, our guests' views are, and their tile floors, are their own. Okay? We'll see you on the next one. Until then, keep stacking them sats.